To explain the history of Rapha, you have to cast your mind back 15 years to when cycling wasn't a very popular or well understood sport, and I started the business 14 years ago because I really wanted to change that, and I wanted to celebrate the sport, and I wanted to draw more people to this perhaps niche activity that you see in the streets of major cities and sometimes out in the countryside. So Rapha was set up to honour and celebrate the sport of cycling, and we do that through products, and we do that through experiences and events and content, and we've now grown to be a global business serving cyclists all over the world. Rapha definitely came out of a personal frustration, which often brands like this do. As a cyclist and as somebody who was very interested in that sport, I was disappointed with everything that was on offer, the quality of the products, the quality of the experience I was offered by brands and retailers. So Rapha was absolutely set up to challenge that, but to do it in a way that was completely appropriate for today's consumer and how their needs are changing. We don't really see Rapha as just a retailer. I think actually those categories are increasingly inappropriate all over the world, and certainly in our world we're seeing a blurring of brands and retailers and media companies, and you've got most brands starting to have content, you've got many retailers starting to have their own brands, and you have media companies who are starting to try and monetize things through product. There's a blurring of those three categories. So Rapha is a brand primarily, but we happen to sell things direct, so we are a retailer, but we're also a media business, and it's the blend of those three things that makes us interesting. Customer experience is the number one thing for us. It's the most important thing that we focus on every day. And in fact, the business has been set up with customer experience right at the heart of it. I'm a marketeer by trade and by training, and a brand guy, and that lives or dies on the quality of the customer experience. So we put it heart and centre of our business. I think customers all over the world are now demanding experiences, not products. We hear it a lot, but it's absolutely true. And the value of product only goes so far, but the wrapping you can put around that in terms of engagement, service, community is the thing that's most interesting. So we're often described by our customers as offering memories and friendships rather than products and services. And I think that's a nice way of looking at how to build experiences for customers. Rapha's a 100% direct-to-consumer business. So we are absolutely focused on going direct to the customer and having that relationship with the customer. So in terms of understanding customers, we have to be out there with the customer day to day. And the way we roll our business out is not by advertising and drawing people to a centralized website. We have an amazing e-commerce business, but we also go out into the field and we build relationships on the ground. So we put people on the ground in Australia or Japan or the US, and that's how we build our local business. So when you interact with Rapha, it's not some virtual relationship or something which is at arm's length. It's something that's very immediate and very direct and something very personal. It's harder to do it that way, and it takes longer, and it probably takes more money and investment, but you end up with a much stronger franchise as a result. We're fortunate that we launched the business in the internet age, and we went straight to online, and we've gone from online to offline and integrating the two. And that's a lucky place to be. It meant that we could go very international very quickly, and we're talking to a particular community of people who have similar aspirations and similar needs and similar tastes. And those people are quite similar all over the world. So we've managed to reach them through 120, 130 different countries through the internet. So that's been fantastic. But there have been challenges in doing that. You have to invest. You don't invest in bricks and mortar so much, but you have to invest in technology clearly, but also in a certain kind of marketing, because to reach those people isn't as simple as just putting a post on social media or putting an advert on a media channel. You have to actually create a conversation with the customer. And so we invest quite a lot in our marketing and in our content to try and reach those people. That's probably been the biggest challenge, is investing in that and trying to make it relevant to everybody around the world. Even though they have similar tastes in cycling, there are subtle differences if you're talking to a cyclist in Melbourne or somebody in Osaka. Yeah, we're very fortunate because as a business we're about something. We exist about road cycling. We're all about promoting that sport. So we have this amazing why that people can be drawn to. Lots of companies don't have that. They're about a product or a service. We have a much bigger idea behind the business, which is really helpful in attracting staff, and it's fantastic to connect those staff to the customer as well. We're all basically in it for the same reason. So we have an amazingly engaged group of 400 people working for Rapha, and I'm pretty confident if you spoke to any of them, they would be as passionate about the sport as I am, and would be able to articulate to you very clearly what the benefit of the sport is and how Rapha can help. And I think that's key now for creating brands in the new economy and with demanding consumers. It has to ring true, whoever you're talking to and at any point. So we have that. I think today's consumers are more demanding than ever, more empowered than ever, more educated than ever, and therefore more difficult probably than ever to reach. And I think their expectations are so much higher and their patience is so much lower. So what that means is that not that you have to throw away the fundamentals, it actually means the fundamentals are ever more important. And by fundamentals I would say you've got to be authentic. You've got to stand for something, and that's got to ring true. You have to deliver at every point of customer experience. There's nowhere to hide with that. You have to make it true. You have to have a really good value proposition. The value proposition has to have a functional benefit and an emotional benefit. And increasingly you have to deliver that all over the world at scale. And I think those are just the rules of the game now. And it's easier for newer companies to get there than some of the traditional brands, I think. For me, getting a global perspective is really interesting. We're an international business operating all over the world, and yet we can only spend so much time travelling the world. So to get all those people in one place from all those different markets and understand Asia and trends in the Far East, for example, is really interesting for me. Also the technological side of it I think is really interesting too. There are some good speakers there who I can learn from.